Our next speaker for today is Carola. I hope I'm pronouncing it well. So Carola is CEO of the Swiss cybersecurity company called XN, which develops security software to automatically detect cyber threats in companies' network. So cyber expert perfectly knows that today most of the cyber attack goes completely undetected, and that cyber criminal can stay months, even years, in company network without getting flagged. So today, Carola will tell us more on how a cyber attack works so that she can explain how technology can better detect attack and detect it earlier. So if you have any questions, same as earlier, you can ask those questions in the Q&A section on the top right of the screen, and we will have dedicated time at the end to reply to this question. So Carola, the floor is yours.
Good. So thank you very much for joining. It's a pleasure to be part of the Women in Cyber initiative. I have to also share my screen, I guess. 1 second. So, good. Now it should work.
Okay, working.
Perfect. Yeah, as I already said, it's a pleasure to be part of the Women in Cyber initiative. I myself work in cybersecurity since around 3 years, starting when I joined Exeon to scale up the business side of our ETH spin-off. As a team, as Lucy already introduced me, we are specialized on detecting hidden cyber threats in the network of larger companies based on machine learning and big data algorithms. We think that a fast detection of cyber threats becomes increasingly crucial, and during the remainder of my presentation, I will show you why. Quite well-known quote in the industry that has been first stated around 10 years ago says that there are only 2 types of companies: those that have been compromised and those that don't know it. In Switzerland, we realized that basically quite impressively with the attack on RUAG, on the Swiss defense and military company, which was hacked around 5 years ago, and the hackers remained undetected in RUAG's network for over 1 year, where they had the opportunity to exfiltrate a massive amount of data and remain completely undetected for quite a long time. After this, it also became apparent in Switzerland that relying on the usual prevention techniques like building very hard firewall rules and using an up-to-date antivirus software is not enough, because the prevention measures are increasingly circumvented with more and more advanced attacks. And once such a prevention measure has failed, companies basically have no clue of what is going on in their network and how to detect cyber threats that are already in the network. But before getting a bit more on the detection part, let's first focus on how such an advanced persistent threat looks like, or how such an attack typically happens. So it all starts with the delivery of the malware. This is usually happening over an email, for example, which is one of the main entry doors. So the attacker claims to be an applicant who sends a CV or sends an invoice to the finance department. Or what is actually also quite successful is that they claim to have a leaked salary file where all where employees tend to be very excited and click on it. Once they click on it, the computer is infected. And as a next step, the malware establishes a command and control channel to the web, over which the actual attacker can control the next moves of the malware. So from this part of the attack goes relatively fast. So it takes around hours to maybe days to make this happening, and it's not that difficult. However, from there on, the attacker first has to get to the interesting part of the network of a company where the real crown jewels are stored. So, for example, intellectual property, interesting data, customer data, and so on. This is done by so-called lateral movements, where the attacker or the malware tries to move from one computer to more the server network. Once this is successful, data can then actually be exfiltrated over those command and control channels, or even a ransomware attack can be prepared where the whole data is then encrypted and the data is taken hostage and only released after the company pays a ransom. And the latter three steps basically is taking place in weeks, if not months, until the really bad stuff, so to say, is happening. So the data theft or the ransomware attack. So there we see that there is quite a large window of opportunity to detect the cyber attack before actually something really bad is happening. But again, let's not only look at an attack in theory on a PowerPoint slide, but also look at it a little bit more in a practical manner. So my more tech-savvy colleagues actually prepared an attack which is recorded. So on the left-hand side, you see the screen of the attacker. Let's call her Mia. She's using she's using a well-known Linux Kali distribution, which actually already comes with quite a lot of attacking tools, which are just there for use. And then on the right-hand side, we have the victim. Let's call him Ben, which is working with a normal Windows 10 machine. So as a first step, Mia would prepare the malicious file, which is used then to infiltrate Ben's computer. To save some time, I will not show you how exactly this file preparation works. However, it's quite a simple and straightforward process because the attacker tools come with a collection of ready-made exploits that can be, with a little bit of programming, used basically out of the box. For this example, I use a Word document as a malicious file. Then let me quickly switch screen. So what happens next is that Mia programs the so-called command and control server. This is a server running in the web to which the malicious software will connect after infecting Ben's computer, such that Mia can actually remotely control Ben's computer. Once this command and control server is ready, Mia will send then the malicious file to Ben. As we saw, this often happens over email. In that case, so she's still setting up the command and control server. In that case, we saved the malicious Word document already on Ben's computer. And now look on the left-hand side, what happens in Mia's screen, because from that moment on, she has now control over Ben's screen. Now she first needs to find out on which kind of system she got in. Sysinfo and get UID help with that. As a next step, she actually migrates the malicious codes to the Explorer. And now the malicious code is running inside the Explorer, which is a process that is running all the time on Ben's computer and doesn't look suspicious at all to the cybersecurity team or to any endpoint detection software on Ben's side. Now, as a next step, let's find out how Ben looks like. So Mia actually takes a webcam snap from Ben's computer. The first try failed, the second try was successful, and the picture is saved on Mia's machine. So she's now looking at the picture, and luckily for Ben, the angle was a little bit strange, so he didn't get his photo taken. So Mia goes back and starts a new program, a new attempt called keystroke sniffer, so or key scan sniffer. With that, she can actually record every single keystroke Ben is doing. So if he, for example, opens the browser and looks for the weather in Zurich, this is recorded on Mia's side. That's already bad enough. So Mia easily can see what Ben is doing on the internet all the time. However, now imagine Ben goes to his password manager and enters in his master password, which he does here now. Then Mia, with the keystroke sniffer, easily also records that action and dumps it. So I stop the presentation here and go back to my presentation. So obviously, in that example, Ben also used quite a weak password for his password manager, which is hopefully not happening in real life. However, however, this is also just an example. Also, as we used quite known exploits in this example, this attack would have been most likely detected by an up-to-date antivirus software. However, the issue are so-called zero-days attack, which are not known and where prevention measures fail because antivirus software only detects things that they know that exist. And the fast detection of such zero-days attack is crucial. However, they often do not happen in time. So a recent study found out that it takes around 24 days until a hacker attack is detected in the network of a company. So this leaves the attacker over a month to actually use the tools or the keystroke sniffer Mia used. And even if Ben doesn't go to the password manager in the very first few minutes, a month is certainly enough to find out everything there is to know about Ben. So overall, this time, a month sounds relatively long. It used to be even longer in the past. And one of the main reasons why the detection time actually got shorter is not that we got very much better at detection, but more that ransomware became a large thing over the last few years. And once all your data is encrypted and the ransomware gang is calling in with ransom demands, it's obviously much easier to detect an attack instead of having to find it somewhere in the network data. So what is then the main obstacle for detection actually? The main obstacle for detection is that there is just a huge amount of data in the network in which the cyber attacker can hide relatively easily. And why is there such a large amount of data? Let's take the example of an employee, or let's imagine you're working in a relatively large company. You're going to the office in the morning and are looking for 10 minutes of newspaper reading. So you type in the URL maybe nzz.ch. So while you only type in one URL, in the background of your computer, a lot of actions is happening automatically. So nzz.ch is connecting to a lot of sub-pages, services, like for example, Google Ads or Google AdWords, so Google Analytics, Google AdWords, LinkedIn ads or other linked advertising options. This is basically happening randomly without you as a user even knowing. And while you, at the rest of the day, you will browse even more, and also your colleagues will browse work-related stuff. And as a result, there will be billions of events happening in a larger corporate network every day. And in this large amount of network events, the attacker can hide easily, basically in plain sight, because of traditional or manual search, it's very difficult to find patterns like, for example, the command and control channel I showed you earlier. So, and for this, we developed Xeon Trace. Xeon Trace collects this large amount of log data and then analyzes it with the help of machine learning and big data algorithms to actually find the needle in the haystack or the attacker in the data chaos. Coming back to the NZZ.ch example, so what Xeon does is that it restructures for every user the browsing history. So as you can see here, a little bit small. At the top in purple, you see the URL that is actually typed in by the user, and below you see all the so-called automated things that are happening in the background attributed to a specific URL. And that Xeon Trace is doing fast and automated for the whole day. And what remains is then actually the so-called anomalies that can't be attributed to any action of the user and are so an indication for abnormal behavior. So basically the setting up, for example, of a command and control channel. And such activities can then be singled out automatically and looked at it in detail. And command and control channels and attacks related to those command and control channels can be detected very quickly. With that, Xeon detects, or we basically detect cyber attacks within hours and not only 24 days. And don't use 24 days for that. Good. I hope I was able to give you a quick insight into how network detection and response works. I also hope I didn't use enough too much time after already losing some with coming into late. Maybe as a next step or as a last slide, and also as you are also talking about women in cybersecurity, I hope it's okay. I will also share the current job openings at Xeon. So if every one of you is listening and interested to work in a cybersecurity startup, please contact me. We have quite a lot of job openings open, and we would be more than happy to have at least 50% of those filled by women for more diversity in cybersecurity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Carola. Really interesting indeed. We have 5 minutes left for question. It was perfect. The timing was perfect, so no worries. So until now, we do not have question in the Q&A. So if you have, do not hesitate to type them in the chat or the Q&A. But maybe to start, I can ask you one. So I was interested to know. So what basically in this tool that you described and that you're offering, that Xeon is offering, what would be, according to you, the difference between such tool and other tools that company usually have, like SIEM or SOAR, that really used to manage all the detection, like at least all the logs and try to do detection. So what's the additional value that you're bringing, and can you interconnect with this kind of tools, or you work separately?
Yes, so for example, SIEM is a very good, or SIEM, I never know how to say
Yeah.
it in English, is a very good example of a tool to which Xeon is exactly complementary. So SIEM solution is perfect to store and collect a lot of log data, and the user can then actually also do analysis on this log data. However, especially the automated analysis and detection part is very difficult to do with a SIEM data, so or with a SIEM in general. So what we are offering on top of the SIEM is exactly the automated use cases for the detection of cyber threats. So then, for example, a network security engineer at the large bank doesn't have to go through the SIEM data and has his own security policies and his own security use cases programmed, but they can just take the data from the SIEM, move it to Xeon Trace, and then we analyze the data. So we have the opportunity, or we provide the option to also work together with SIEM solutions. So to either via an API automatically load the data we analyze from the SIEM to Xeon Trace, or what you also can do is just to collect the data in the network of the customer and then analyze it and filter out and send the results to a SIEM solution, or for example also to a source solution from where then also certain response use cases can be run. So it's actually a perfect complementary tool.
So you're saving time from the cyber teams.
Exactly, yes.
Okay, that's good.